Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The making of Wonder Woman, 2017, represents a landmark moment in cinematic history, not only because of its female-led narrative but also due to the groundbreaking achievements in production, direction, and technical execution. Patty Jenkins, whose vision guided the film from conception to final cut, approached the story with an emphasis on character-driven storytelling, ensuring that the narrative remained anchored in emotional authenticity even amidst sweeping action sequences and fantastical elements. Her direction was informed by a deep understanding of Wonder Woman's mythological origins, the cultural significance of the character, and the moral framework central to the film's narrative. Jenkins' collaboration with screenwriter Alan Heinberg involved translating decades of comic book lore into a cinematic story that balanced heroism, romance, historical context, and philosophical inquiry. This process required careful negotiation between the fantastical elements of Wonder Woman's origins and the grounded realities of a World War I setting, a challenge that was met through meticulous script development, research, and iterative storyboarding. Casting was a critical component of the production's success. Gal Gadot, selected for her combination of physical prowess, charisma, and relatability, underwent extensive training to embody the Amazonian warrior. Her regimen included combat techniques, weapons mastery, horseback riding, and acrobatics, designed to ensure authenticity in her portrayal. Gadot's performance balances strength and vulnerability, illustrating that Diana's heroism is as much about empathy, moral clarity, and emotional intelligence as it is about combat skill. Chris Pine, portraying Steve Trevor, brought charm, intelligence, and moral grounding to the narrative, functioning as both mentor and ethical foil to Diana. Supporting cast members, including Robin Wright, Connie Nielsen, Danny Huston, David Thewlis, and Elena Anaya, were selected for their ability to convey complex motivations, emotional depth, and the narrative weight of their respective roles. Wright's portrayal of General Antiope, in particular, provided a layered depiction of mentorship, authority, and sacrificial love, while Nielsen's Queen Hippolyta embodied wisdom, caution, and maternal care. Production design played a pivotal role in immersing audiences in both the mythological and historical worlds depicted in the film. Themyscira was conceptualized as an idyllic, timeless environment that juxtaposes natural beauty with martial discipline. Classical architecture, cascading waterfalls, and lush forests reflect the harmony and sophistication of Amazonian society, while training grounds, amphitheaters, and weapon chambers communicate the physical rigor and strategic sophistication inherent to the warrior culture. The filmmakers employed a combination of on-location shoots, meticulously constructed sets, and CGI enhancements to create an immersive experience that is simultaneously believable and visually awe-inspiring. In contrast, the depictions of London, wartime Europe, and the Belgian front lines utilized historically accurate architecture, period-specific costumes, and atmospheric cinematography to convey the social and political climate of the era. This attention to detail allowed audiences to traverse seamlessly between the mythological and human worlds, reinforcing the thematic exploration of innocence, corruption, heroism, and moral choice. Cinematographer Matthew Jensen's work was integral to establishing the film's visual identity. Through the use of lighting, color grading, and composition, Jensen differentiated Themyscira's ethereal vibrancy from the muted, somber tones of European battlefields. Strategic use of shadows and natural light in Themyscira accentuated the island's mystical quality, while desaturated palettes and diffused lighting in Europe conveyed the bleakness, danger, and moral ambiguity of war. Action sequences were framed to highlight Diana's agility, tactical intelligence, and divine abilities, often employing long takes, dynamic camera movements, and carefully choreographed blocking to maximize impact. Notably, the No Man's Land sequence utilized a combination of wide shots, close-ups, and practical effects to create a visceral sense of danger, heroism, and emotional resonance, earning widespread acclaim for its technical execution and narrative power. The film's musical score, composed by Rupert Gregson-Williams, played a central role in shaping the emotional and thematic resonance of the narrative. Orchestral motifs associated with Diana's character blend ethereal strings, powerful brass, and rhythmic percussion to reflect both her divine origins and human empathy. The score transitions fluidly between the serenity of Themyscira, the tension of espionage sequences in London, and the chaos of battlefields, effectively guiding audience emotions and reinforcing narrative pacing. Gregson Williams' use of recurring themes for heroism, sacrifice, and moral choice underscores the film's philosophical underpinnings, ensuring that viewers experience both spectacle and reflection throughout Diana's journey. Sound design was similarly integral to the immersive quality of the film. The clash of swords, the roar of battlefield explosions, and the subtleties of environmental audio create a rich auditory landscape that complements the visuals and narrative. Attention to diegetic sound ensures that action sequences retain realism, while the integration of non-diegetic elements, such as musical cues and ethereal audio motifs, enhances the mythological dimension of Diana's abilities. These choices, combined with precise editing and mixing, allow the audience to experience the narrative from Diana's perspective, heightening empathy, engagement, and dramatic tension. Thematic symbolism permeates every aspect of the film, from costume design to narrative structure. Diana's armor, for example, is not merely functional, it signifies her heritage, ethical principles, and transformation into a hero. The lasso of truth embodies moral clarity and the pursuit of justice, while her sword and shield reflect both physical prowess and ethical responsibility. These visual symbols operate in tandem with narrative motifs, reinforcing the interplay between power, morality, and heroism. The recurring theme of sacrifice, whether through the deaths of mentors, the selflessness of allies, or Steve Trevor's ultimate act of heroism, underscores the film's philosophical inquiry into the cost and responsibility of ethical action. By integrating these symbols and motifs, the filmmakers ensure that Wonder Woman resonates on multiple levels, offering both entertainment and reflective engagement with enduring moral questions. Character analysis reveals a careful balancing of complexity, growth, and thematic resonance. Diana's journey embodies both physical mastery and ethical evolution, illustrating the interplay between innate abilities and moral choice. Her development is framed by contrasts: innocence versus experience, idealism versus realism, and divine power versus human vulnerability. Steve Trevor functions as a catalyst and moral anchor, challenging Diana to reconcile her ideals with the realities of human society while demonstrating courage, intelligence, and ethical integrity. General Antiope and Queen Hippolyta provide models of leadership and mentorship, each contributing to Diana's understanding of duty, sacrifice, and moral courage. Villains such as Ares, Ludendorff, and Dr. Poison serve as ideological foils, articulating alternative perspectives on power, corruption, and human nature, compelling Diana, and the audience, to reflect critically on the ethical stakes of heroism. Behind the scenes, the production involved intricate coordination across multiple departments, including stunt coordination, visual effects, costume design, and historical consultation. Stunt teams meticulously choreographed combat sequences to highlight Diana's agility, skill, and strategy, blending practical effects with CGI to maintain authenticity and dynamic visual storytelling. Visual effects teams enhanced mythological elements, such as divine energy manifestations and battlefield impacts, without undermining the grounded realism of the environments. Costume designers, led by Lindy Hemming, conducted extensive research into historical attire, Amazonian mythology, and symbolic aesthetics to create uniforms, armor, and accessories that communicated both narrative function and thematic resonance. Consultation with historians and cultural experts ensured that depictions of World War I-era society, technology, and military operations were accurate, reinforcing the film's balance between historical grounding and fantastical storytelling. Wonder Woman's narrative and production choices reflect broader cultural and ethical considerations. By emphasizing empathy, moral agency, and the transformative potential of ethical action, the film positions heroism as a socially and philosophically significant pursuit. It challenges audiences to consider the implications of power, responsibility, and sacrifice, while providing a cinematic experience that is simultaneously exhilarating, emotionally resonant, and morally compelling. The film's global success demonstrated the widespread appetite for narratives that integrate spectacle, character depth, and thematic richness, solidifying Wonder Woman as both a cultural icon and a cinematic milestone. The film opens with a sweeping, ethereal view of Themyscira, the hidden island where the Amazons live in isolation from the outside world. The camera glides over lush landscapes, towering mountains, waterfalls, and pristine beaches, immediately establishing a sense of mythic beauty and timelessness. The opening narration, voiced by Diana in the present day, sets the tone for the story, framing it as a reflection on her journey and the nature of heroism. This introduction juxtaposes the serenity of Themyscira with the turmoil of the world beyond, preparing the audience for the thematic exploration of innocence, responsibility, and the corruption of humanity. The narration itself is not merely expository, it conveys Diana's moral perspective, her reflective nature, and her belief in the potential for goodness, setting up the central conflict between idealism and the harsh realities she will face. As the story shifts to Diana's childhood, viewers are introduced to Queen Hippolyta and General Antiope, two women whose approaches to leadership and mentorship shape Diana's understanding of power and responsibility. Hippolyta embodies caution and maternal love, attempting to shield Diana from the dangers of the outside world, while Antiope emphasizes discipline, courage, and martial skill, training Diana to become a warrior capable of defending her people. The dynamic between these two influences creates a layered portrayal of mentorship, highlighting the necessity of both ethical guidance and practical skill. Young Diana's curiosity and determination are evident in her insistence on training, even when forbidden, and this early defiance foreshadows her later heroism and willingness to challenge conventional limits for the sake of justice. The arrival of Steve Trevor serves as the catalyst for the narrative, disrupting the idyllic order of Themyscira and introducing the central conflict. Steve's crash onto the island is a chaotic and visually intense sequence, combining aerial stunts, explosions, and a sense of immediate danger. Diana's swift intervention demonstrates both her combat proficiency and her moral instinct to protect the innocent. The ensuing confrontation with German soldiers reveals the Amazons' combat capabilities and introduces the audience to the high stakes of the story. General Antiope's death in this battle is a critical turning point, serving as a narrative and emotional hinge that propels Diana into the human world. This loss is portrayed with gravity and pathos, emphasizing the costs of heroism and establishing the film's commitment to portraying meaningful stakes rather than trivializing violence. Upon entering the human world, Diana's introduction to London highlights the cultural and thematic contrasts between her upbringing and the society she is entering. The city is depicted as bustling, technologically advanced, and morally complex, filled with intrigue, espionage, and the machinery of war. Steve Trevor becomes her guide, not only in navigating the social and political landscape but also in understanding the moral ambiguities that define human behavior. Their interactions are infused with both humor and tension, reflecting Diana's naivety and Steve's pragmatic awareness. This period of the narrative also allows for the development of secondary characters, including Samir, Charlie, and the Chief, each contributing unique skills and perspectives to the mission. These characters provide both narrative utility and thematic contrast, showcasing human diversity, ingenuity, and moral variability. The journey to the front lines of World War I introduces the audience to the brutal realities of combat. The trench sequences are designed with meticulous attention to historical detail, conveying the chaos, fear, and devastation of warfare. The cinematography emphasizes both the scale of destruction and the intimate human experiences within it, allowing viewers to feel the tension and danger alongside the characters. Diana's decision to intervene at no man's land is a climactic moment that blends visual spectacle with thematic resonance. Her iconic charge across the battlefield, wielding her shield and sword, is captured with dynamic camera work that emphasizes her heroism while conveying the real risk to human lives. This scene is not merely an action set piece, it embodies the film's core message about moral courage, the power of example, and the capacity of one individual to inspire collective action. The sequence involving Ludendorff and Dr. Maru's chemical weapons plot introduces moral and narrative complexity, emphasizing that evil is not always obvious or personified in a single antagonist. Diana's initial belief that Ludendorff is Ares represents her adherence to a simplistic understanding of morality, which is challenged by subsequent revelations. The careful plotting, espionage, and infiltration sequences highlight strategy, intelligence, and collaboration as essential elements of heroism, complementing Diana's physical prowess. The contrast between her direct, morally uncompromising approach and the subtleties of human political maneuvering underscores the central tension between idealism and pragmatism. The revelation of the true Ares as Sir Patrick Morgan deepens the film's thematic exploration of systemic evil. This antagonist is insidious, manipulative, and emblematic of the human capacity for corruption, ambition, and moral compromise. The confrontation with Ares is both visually spectacular and symbolically rich. The battle sequences employ dynamic camera angles, slow-motion effects, and visual emphasis on Diana's superhuman abilities, juxtaposed with the consequences of unchecked power embodied by Ares. The narrative significance of Steve Trevor's sacrifice in this sequence cannot be overstated, as it reinforces the film's recurring themes of love, selflessness, and the ethical responsibilities of those with power. Diana's victory over Ares is achieved not solely through strength but through moral clarity, compassion, and the rejection of hatred, solidifying her as a hero defined by ethical integrity as much as physical ability. Following the climax, the denouement explores the aftermath of war and Diana's continued commitment to protecting humanity. Her decision to remain in the human world, working at the Louvre and engaging with contemporary society, illustrates the ongoing tension between her divine heritage and human engagement. The epilogue also frames the narrative within the present day, connecting past heroism with enduring moral and cultural relevance. The reflective tone encourages viewers to consider the broader implications of heroism, ethical leadership, and moral responsibility in their own lives, reinforcing the timeless nature of the story. The final scenes, interwoven with subtle visual and auditory motifs, serve as both a narrative closure and a thematic reinforcement. The use of recurring musical themes, costume continuity, and symbolic imagery, such as Diana's armor, the lasso of truth, and her interaction with artifacts from both Themyscira and the human world, provides cohesion across temporal and spatial shifts in the story. These elements ensure that the narrative maintains both emotional resonance and visual continuity, tying together character arcs, thematic threads, and the broader mythological and historical context. The meticulous construction of Wonder Woman's narrative is evident in the way individual scenes are designed to reinforce both character development and thematic resonance. One of the earliest significant moments occurs when Diana first encounters Steve Trevor after his plane crashes near Themyscira. This scene serves as more than a simple rescue, it establishes the contrast between the sheltered life of the Amazons and the harsh reality of the human world. Diana's initial curiosity about Steve is interlaced with cautious observation. She recognizes both the potential for good and the vulnerability inherent in humanity. The dialogue is carefully crafted to showcase her naivety, intelligence, and moral clarity, while Steve's reactions underscore the cultural and emotional gap between the worlds. The scene also foreshadows the emotional bond that will develop between the two characters, grounding their future romantic and moral partnership in mutual respect and shared ideals. As Diana journeys with Steve to London, the narrative emphasizes her evolving understanding of geopolitics, war strategy, and human complexity. She is confronted with a world in which ethical decision-making is clouded by ambition, bureaucracy, and fear. Her interactions with political leaders reveal her idealism, highlighting a central tension in the narrative, Diana's unwavering commitment to justice versus the pragmatic, often morally compromised approaches of those in power. These scenes are interspersed with lighter moments, particularly through interactions with her allies Samir, Charlie, and Chief. Each of these characters contributes unique insights and skills, creating a dynamic team structure that demonstrates collaboration and mutual support as essential to success. Samir's wit and charm provide levity, Charlie's tactical skills reveal the practical realities of warfare, and Chief's experience and cultural knowledge guide the group through perilous situations. Together, these interactions illustrate the film's central theme that heroism is multifaceted, requiring courage, intelligence, and empathy. The portrayal of Dr. Poison is particularly notable for its combination of historical context and narrative function. Inspired by early 20th century chemical warfare developments, Dr. Poison represents the ethical and technological dangers of human ambition when divorced from moral responsibility. Elena Anaya's performance brings a chilling yet restrained quality to the character, emphasizing calculated intellect and moral indifference rather than flamboyant villainy. This nuanced approach to villainy reflects the film's broader narrative strategy. Adversaries are not merely obstacles to overcome but are integrated into thematic explorations of power, corruption, and the consequences of human choices. Similarly, General Ludendorff embodies the militaristic hubris and destructive ambition that propels global conflict. His relentless pursuit of power and control contrasts sharply with Diana's ethical framework, reinforcing the narrative's exploration of virtue versus vice, empathy versus aggression. The climactic confrontation with Ares provides the most concentrated exploration of Diana's character and the film's central philosophical questions. Ares, revealed as a seemingly human figure initially, embodies the metaphysical source of war and human cruelty. His dialogue challenges Diana's assumptions about love, morality, and humanity's capacity for good. The physical confrontation between Diana and Ares is meticulously staged, blending choreographed combat with visual effects to create an epic spectacle. Yet the battle's emotional weight is equally significant. Diana must confront grief, fear, and doubt while embodying the ideals she has been raised to uphold. The narrative stakes extend beyond mere victory or defeat, they encompass the moral and emotional integrity of Diana herself. Her triumph is therefore meaningful not only as a display of power but as an affirmation of her belief in humanity's potential for love, courage, and ethical action. Steve Trevor's sacrifice during this sequence further heightens the emotional impact, illustrating that heroism involves both courage in battle and the willingness to make profound personal sacrifices for the greater good. His death profoundly shapes Diana's understanding of love, mortality, and responsibility, reinforcing her transformation into a fully realized hero. Symbolism throughout the film reinforces its thematic depth. Diana's sword, shield, and lasso are not mere weapons but represent values and moral principles. The lasso, in particular, functions as a tool of truth, symbolizing honesty, justice, and the transformative power of ethical action. Costume design also carries symbolic weight. The evolution of Diana's attire from Amazonian warrior gear to her iconic superhero outfit visually communicates her transition from sheltered protector to active defender of humanity. These elements, combined with cinematography and production design, create a narrative universe that is visually coherent, thematically rich, and emotionally resonant. Comparisons between the film and the original DC Comics source material reveal both fidelity and innovation. The film retains core aspects of Diana's origin, her Amazonian heritage, divine parentage, and commitment to justice, while adapting the story to reflect contemporary sensibilities and cinematic storytelling conventions. The portrayal of World War I as the backdrop provides historical specificity that grounds the mythological elements in a tangible reality. Additionally, the film emphasizes emotional depth, ethical inquiry, and character-driven storytelling in ways that expand upon the often action-centric focus of comic narratives. These adaptations allow the character of Wonder Woman to resonate with modern audiences, blending myth, history, and cinematic spectacle in a cohesive and compelling manner. Behind-the-scenes insights further illuminate the film's success. Patty Jenkins' direction emphasized authenticity, character-driven narrative, and the ethical and emotional dimensions of heroism. Gal Gadot's preparation for the role included extensive physical training, combat choreography, and character study to embody both the physicality and emotional depth of Diana. Visual effects teams worked closely with stunt coordinators and cinematographers to ensure that action sequences were both spectacular and narratively meaningful. The integration of practical effects, location shoots, and CGI created a seamless visual experience, allowing audiences to remain immersed in the story while witnessing feats of mythic heroism. The reception of the film extended beyond box office performance, influencing cultural conversations about gender representation, narrative complexity in superhero cinema, and the role of female directors in blockbuster filmmaking. Critics and audiences alike praised the film for its balance of action, emotional resonance, and ethical inquiry. The depiction of Diana as a morally grounded, physically powerful, and emotionally authentic hero challenged long-standing genre conventions and inspired subsequent films to prioritize character depth alongside spectacle. The cultural impact of Wonder Woman is reflected in discussions about empowerment, representation, and the importance of diverse perspectives in shaping modern cinematic narratives. Gal Gadot's portrayal became emblematic of these values, her performance celebrated for embodying both mythic heroism and human vulnerability in a way that resonated with audiences worldwide. The film's legacy also includes its influence on subsequent DC Extended Universe entries, setting narrative and thematic benchmarks for character development, ethical inquiry, and cinematic storytelling. By combining mythological grandeur with grounded human emotion, Wonder Woman redefined expectations for superhero origin stories, demonstrating that blockbuster films could succeed commercially while engaging with philosophical, moral, and emotional complexity. The ongoing popularity of the character, subsequent film entries, merchandise, and cultural references reflect the enduring impact of the 2017 film. Its influence extends into broader conversations about female-led storytelling, the responsibilities of heroism, and the narrative potential of blending myth, history, and contemporary cinematic techniques. Now, more than 7 years after its initial release, Wonder Woman, 2017, continues to hold a remarkable place in the cinematic landscape, both as a superhero film and as a cultural artifact. Looking back from 2025, the film's legacy can be understood across multiple dimensions: its narrative choices, its visual and thematic impact, its influence on the industry, and the ways audiences have internalized and celebrated its message over time. From a narrative perspective, Wonder Woman remains one of the most emotionally grounded superhero origin stories of the last decade. Unlike many superhero films that prioritize spectacle over character development, the film took the risk of spending substantial time in Diana's formative environment, Themyscira. This creative decision, initially seen as a slower exposition, has aged particularly well. Modern critics and scholars note that establishing Diana's upbringing in a rich, vibrant Amazonian culture provides not only emotional stakes but philosophical context. It grounds her later actions in a moral and ethical framework that is consistent throughout the film. The mythology of Themyscira, its history, its rituals, and its philosophy, has become a template for how contemporary films can explore a hero's origin without resorting to flashbacks or expository monologues. The film's depiction of World War I has also gained renewed attention. While some early reviewers criticized its historical accuracy or the stylized portrayal of war, historians and cultural commentators now emphasize that the film succeeded in evoking the emotional truth of conflict rather than delivering a strictly factual account. Scenes like the battle in Felt or the trench warfare sequences, while dramatized, offer a visceral sense of human suffering and resilience, reinforcing Diana's moral and emotional journey. Modern audiences appreciate this blend of realism and myth as a pioneering example of how superhero films can tackle historical settings with gravity while remaining engaging and fantastical. Technically, the cinematography, set design, and costume work remain influential benchmarks. Matthew Jensen's use of natural light on Themyscira and the warm color palettes contrasted with muted, cold tones for the European battlefield still informs contemporary superhero and fantasy cinematography. Costume designer Lindy Hemming's work on the Amazon's armor, blending practicality with mythic elegance, is frequently cited in film design courses as a model for creating costuming that is both narrative-driven and visually iconic. Gal Gadot's portrayal, with armor, lasso, and shield, has been embraced not only by film audiences but also in broader pop culture, influencing fashion, illustration, cosplay, and digital media design. Critically, the film has aged remarkably well in terms of audience perception. In the years following its release, a number of studies and surveys show that Wonder Woman helped normalize the presence of women in superhero lead roles, paving the way for other female-led blockbusters, such as Captain Marvel, Black Widow, and Shazam. Fury of the Gods. Its success demonstrated conclusively to studios that audiences respond not only to spectacle but also to sincerity, optimism, and depth of character, principles that had sometimes been marginalized in the male-dominated superhero genre. In 2025, it is frequently referenced in discussions of how representation in blockbuster cinema can reshape expectations and inspire future storytellers. From a cultural standpoint, the no man's land scene continues to resonate. Social media trends, educational resources, and motivational media often reference this moment as an archetype of courage, moral fortitude, and selfless heroism. It has transcended cinema to become an example cited in discussions about leadership, ethics, and perseverance in the face of adversity. Academics in film studies often analyze it for its choreography, camera work, and symbolic significance, exploring how a single action sequence can function as the emotional and philosophical heart of a film. However, the film has also faced re-evaluation in some areas. Some modern critiques highlight that, while Diana's moral arc remains compelling, secondary characters are less fully realized. Critics argue that Steve Trevor, while charming and morally grounded, functions largely as a narrative device to introduce Diana to the human world. Similarly, villains like Ludendorff and the Ares reveal lean somewhat toward spectacle-driven antagonists rather than complex moral foils. While the film's emotional core and thematic depth mitigate these weaknesses, modern viewers note that contemporary superhero storytelling increasingly demands nuanced ensemble dynamics and psychologically layered antagonists. Another area of reflection is the third act's embrace of larger-than-life CGI battles. In 2017, these sequences were lauded for visual spectacle. Today, some viewers see them as less innovative compared to the practical effects and grounded action that dominated the first two acts. Nevertheless, even these sequences are frequently defended in retrospective analyses, with scholars pointing out that they maintain narrative coherence by externalizing Diana's internal struggles. Her confrontation with Ares is as much psychological as physical, a literal manifestation of her philosophical and moral conflict. The social impact of Wonder Woman, 2017, has only grown over time. Beyond influencing Hollywood decision-making, the film has served as a cultural touchstone in discussions about gender equality, representation, and empowerment. Wonder Woman herself has become a symbol not only of female heroism but of ethical leadership and hope in modern media. The character's ethos, acting with strength guided by compassion, choosing hope over cynicism, is frequently cited in educational, political, and social contexts as a model of principled action. Gal Gadot's portrayal, in particular, remains definitive, often referenced in pop culture, advertising, and international media as the benchmark for Wonder Woman. The film has also fostered academic interest. Courses in film studies, gender studies, mythology, and cultural criticism regularly include Wonder Woman as a case study. Scholars explore its integration of mythological archetypes, its ethical narrative, its negotiation of female heroism, and its commentary on war and human morality. Analyses often highlight the tension between idealism and realism as central to the film's enduring appeal, a tension mirrored both in Diana's journey and in the production itself, balancing commercial imperatives with storytelling integrity. In fan culture, the movie's legacy has persisted through conventions, cosplay, online communities, and fan art. Memorable quotes, key action sequences, and symbolic imagery, particularly the lasso of truth, the bracelets, and Diana's stance in no man's land, have become iconic and instantly recognizable. The film's influence is evident in how younger audiences engage with superhero narratives, emphasizing ethical choice, empathy, and moral courage alongside traditional notions of power and combat. Looking back, it is clear that Wonder Woman, 2017, achieved something rare. It proved that blockbuster cinema could carry both spectacle and soul. It demonstrated that female-led superhero films could perform at the highest commercial levels while delivering narrative depth, emotional resonance, and meaningful representation. Its combination of myth, history, moral exploration, and heroic storytelling remains unmatched in many respects. While not flawless, its strengths, narrative clarity, visual design, performance, and cultural impact, have allowed it to endure as a model of cinematic heroism. In 2025, the lessons of Wonder Woman resonate as strongly as ever. Audiences still seek stories where characters embody courage, empathy, and moral clarity, studios have observed that investing in such stories is both ethically and commercially viable, and creators continue to reference the film as a blueprint for how to blend mythic ambition with human-scale emotion. The film remains a milestone, a benchmark for cinematic storytelling, cultural significance, and the transformative potential of representation. It reminds us that heroism, true heroism, lies not only in fighting evil, but in choosing love, hope, and compassion even when faced with darkness. Its enduring legacy is the affirmation that even in a world that often seems cynical and fractured, there is power in doing what is right, believing in humanity, and walking bravely into the metaphorical and literal battles of life. One of the most profound aspects of Wonder Woman, 2017, lies in its exploration of moral philosophy and ethical responsibility. The film does not merely present Diana as a physically powerful superhero but as a character deeply engaged with questions of right and wrong, justice, and the human capacity for change. The contrast between the utopian, timeless world of Themyscira and the chaotic, morally ambiguous environment of World War I Europe underscores the tension between idealism and reality. Diana's journey can be understood as a philosophical quest. She leaves the sheltered environment of her homeland not out of rebellion but out of a commitment to act upon her values in the broader world. The narrative emphasizes that true heroism involves the courage to confront injustice, even when the odds are overwhelming and the consequences uncertain. This moral dimension adds layers of complexity to the film, elevating it beyond typical superhero fare and allowing audiences to engage intellectually and emotionally with Diana's journey. Love, in its many forms, serves as both a narrative and thematic driving force. Diana's love for humanity is as central as her personal connection with Steve Trevor. This broader love motivates her actions, compelling her to intervene in the war despite the risks to her own life. Steve's role in the story emphasizes the interplay between human vulnerability and heroic potential. His guidance and sacrifice illuminate the ways in which moral courage and selflessness are integral to the concept of heroism, reinforcing the idea that acts of love and compassion can have transformative effects on both individuals and societies. The film's handling of romance is notable for its restraint. Rather than serving as the focal point, it enhances character depth and emotional resonance without overshadowing the larger narrative of heroism, moral duty, and empowerment. The representation of war in Wonder Woman is particularly nuanced, blending historical accuracy with cinematic spectacle. World War I is depicted not merely as a backdrop for action but as an ethical crucible, revealing human flaws, ambitions, and potential for redemption. The filmmakers juxtapose the horrors of mechanized warfare, chemical weapons, and mass destruction with Diana's unwavering idealism, creating a compelling tension between chaos and order, despair and hope. This contrast highlights the narrative's central concern: while humanity is capable of great evil, it is equally capable of acts of courage, kindness, and moral clarity. The battle sequences, particularly the no man's land moment, are meticulously designed to convey both physical and symbolic stakes, illustrating Diana's ability to inspire collective action and lead by example. This sequence has since become emblematic of the film's message, demonstrating the power of individual heroism to challenge systemic injustice. Mythological elements enrich the narrative by providing both narrative structure and symbolic resonance. The Amazons, as an immortal warrior society, embody ideals of wisdom, strength, and moral responsibility, serving as both a foil and a source of guidance for Diana. Characters such as Queen Hippolyta and General Antiope illustrate different approaches to leadership and ethics, emphasizing the importance of mentorship, preparation, and moral guidance. The incorporation of gods, divine weapons, and ancient prophecy grounds the narrative in a mythic framework while simultaneously engaging with human ethical dilemmas. Ares, as the antagonist, functions as a philosophical foil, challenging Diana to question her assumptions and confront the darker aspects of humanity. The revelation that Ares manipulates rather than directly causes conflict reinforces the film's central thesis: humans are ultimately responsible for their choices, and moral courage is necessary to confront the consequences of those choices. Visual storytelling is integral to the impact of Wonder Woman. The film's cinematography, production design, and costume work create a richly detailed world that spans the mythical and the historical. Themyscira is depicted as a paradisiacal space, imbued with natural beauty, classical architecture, and a sense of timeless harmony, while Europe during World War I is rendered with stark realism, emphasizing destruction, despair, and human struggle. Costumes, particularly Diana's armor, are designed not only for visual spectacle but also to communicate character traits, strength, grace, and purpose. The lasso of truth, shield, and sword are not mere weapons but symbols of justice, integrity, and moral clarity. The careful integration of these elements ensures that every visual choice supports narrative, character, and thematic development, creating a cinematic experience that is both immersive and intellectually engaging. The technical achievements of Wonder Woman extend to fight choreography, stunts, and visual effects. Diana's combat sequences are designed to emphasize her skill, intelligence, and creativity, combining realistic physicality with cinematic flair. The choreography highlights both the beauty and intensity of her fighting style, demonstrating that heroism encompasses strategy, precision, and moral intent in addition to raw power. Visual effects are employed judiciously, enhancing dramatic moments without overshadowing character-driven storytelling. Explosions, large-scale battles, and fantastical elements are seamlessly integrated with performances and practical stunts, ensuring authenticity and maintaining audience engagement. These technical accomplishments, combined with a rousing musical score that blends orchestral grandeur with thematic motifs, create a cinematic experience that resonates both emotionally and intellectually. Culturally, Wonder Woman has had a profound impact on audiences and the broader film industry. It has become a landmark for female-led blockbusters, challenging long-held assumptions about gender and commercial viability. The film's success demonstrated that stories centered on strong, complex female protagonists could achieve critical acclaim and significant box office returns. Beyond financial metrics, Wonder Woman has influenced popular discourse about representation, empowerment, and the potential of superhero narratives to convey meaningful social messages. The character has inspired merchandise, subsequent films, and media coverage that situates her as an enduring cultural icon. Her appeal is rooted not only in her extraordinary abilities but also in her ethical clarity, compassion, and dedication to justice, qualities that resonate deeply in contemporary society and provide a model of heroism that extends beyond entertainment. Behind the scenes, the production of Wonder Woman was marked by meticulous planning, collaboration, and creative vision. Patty Jenkins' direction ensured that character development, visual style, and narrative cohesion were prioritized. Screenwriter Alan Heinberg crafted a script that balanced epic action with emotional depth, while contributions from Zack Snyder and Jason Fuchs maintained continuity within the DC Extended Universe. The film's production design, costume creation, stunt coordination, and visual effects were executed with precision, resulting in a seamless integration of practical and digital elements. Casting decisions, particularly Gal Gadot as Diana, were pivotal, providing a central performance that anchored the story and conveyed the character's strength, empathy, and moral clarity. The collaborative effort of the creative team ensured that every aspect of the film supported its thematic, emotional, and narrative objectives. Marketing and promotional efforts played a significant role in the film's success. Trailers, social media campaigns, and convention appearances highlighted key sequences, particularly the No Man's Land moment, emphasizing both action and empowerment. The campaign effectively communicated the film's themes of courage, moral responsibility, and hope, positioning Wonder Woman as a character who transcends traditional gender norms while appealing to a wide audience. Merchandise, including action figures, apparel, and collectibles, further extended the film's cultural impact, ensuring that Wonder Woman became a recognizable and inspirational figure across generations. The coordinated marketing strategy reinforced the visual identity and thematic resonance of the film, contributing to both commercial success and long-term cultural influence. In conclusion, Wonder Woman, 2017, is a landmark achievement in modern cinema, combining mythological storytelling, historical context, and compelling character development to create a superhero narrative that is both emotionally resonant and intellectually engaging. Its exploration of heroism, moral responsibility, love, and human potential distinguishes it from other entries in the genre, offering audiences a layered and meaningful cinematic experience. The performances, particularly Gal Gadot's portrayal of Diana, the direction of Patty Jenkins, and the meticulous production design and technical execution, contribute to a film that is visually stunning, emotionally powerful, and thematically rich. The cultural impact of Wonder Woman extends beyond the screen, inspiring discussions about representation, empowerment, and the nature of heroism in contemporary society. By blending spectacle, heart, and ethical inquiry, Wonder Woman has established itself as an enduring icon and a defining entry in the history of superhero cinema, demonstrating the transformative potential of storytelling and the enduring power of hope, courage, and compassion. The character development in Wonder Woman is one of the film's most compelling aspects, with each major and supporting character carefully crafted to serve both narrative and thematic purposes. Diana Prince, as portrayed by Gal Gadot, undergoes a profound transformation from an innocent, sheltered child on Themyscira to a morally courageous hero navigating the complexities of human society. Her arc is defined by the interplay between idealism and experience, illustrating how exposure to the world's flaws strengthens rather than diminishes her commitment to justice. On Themyscira, Diana is taught both the physical skills of combat and the ethical responsibility that comes with power. The contrasting mentorship from Queen Hippolyta and General Antiope provides her with a dual foundation. Hippolyta instills caution and emotional wisdom, while Antiope fosters discipline, bravery, and tactical skill. This duality ensures that Diana's heroism is grounded not only in physical ability but also in ethical discernment, which becomes critical as she confronts the moral ambiguity of war and human society. Steve Trevor, portrayed by Chris Pine, functions as both Diana's guide and a foil to her idealism. His arc emphasizes pragmatic heroism, courage, loyalty, and self-sacrifice in the face of danger. While he lacks Diana's superhuman abilities, his actions demonstrate that heroism is multifaceted and accessible to ordinary individuals. Through his interactions with Diana, audiences see the value of intelligence, empathy, and moral consistency, illustrating that true heroism encompasses both action and ethical awareness. Their relationship, though romantic in undertones, primarily serves to humanize Diana and reinforce the narrative's exploration of love as a motivating force for courage and moral action. Steve's ultimate sacrifice further amplifies the thematic weight of altruism, emphasizing that heroism often demands personal cost. Secondary characters contribute significantly to the narrative's richness. Robin Wright's General Antiope, though limited in screen time, leaves an indelible impact through her mentorship and eventual death. Antiope embodies the ideals of courage, honor, and disciplined training, shaping Diana's understanding of what it means to fight for justice. Connie Nielsen's Queen Hippolyta represents maternal wisdom and caution, and her struggles in attempting to balance protection with freedom provide a nuanced perspective on leadership. Other supporting figures, such as Samir, Charlie, and the Chief, introduce elements of humor, loyalty, and skill, while simultaneously reflecting the diversity of human experiences and the collaborative nature of heroism. Even antagonists like General Ludendorff, Dr. Maru, and Ares are given narrative weight, symbolizing not just individual evil but the structural and systemic forces that perpetuate violence, corruption, and war. An important aspect of Wonder Woman is the balance between historical accuracy and creative liberty. The film situates its narrative in the real-world context of World War I, incorporating authentic details of trench warfare, military strategy, uniforms, and weaponry. The European settings, including villages, battlefields, and cities, reflect the period's aesthetic and technological realities, lending a sense of historical grounding. However, the film deliberately blends these real-world elements with mythological and fantastical aspects. Themyscira itself, along with Diana's superhuman abilities and encounters with divine forces, introduces a creative liberty that allows the narrative to explore philosophical and ethical themes without being constrained by historical realism. This blend of history and mythology creates a narrative space where both spectacle and moral inquiry can coexist, providing audiences with entertainment that is simultaneously immersive, reflective, and inspirational. Music, sound design, and cinematography further enhance the film's impact. Rupert Gregson-Williams' score integrates sweeping orchestral themes with character motifs, creating auditory cues that reinforce narrative tension, emotional resonance, and thematic significance. The musical motifs associated with Diana are heroic and ethereal, emphasizing her divine origins and moral clarity, while battle sequences feature more intense, rhythmic compositions that heighten tension and excitement. Sound design complements the musical score, using subtle layering of environmental sounds, explosions, weapon clashes, footsteps, and ambient noise, to create a sense of realism and immediacy. This attention to audio detail immerses the audience in both Themyscira and the European battlefields, providing depth to every scene and enhancing the emotional stakes of Diana's journey. Cinematography, led by Matthew Jensen, is central to the storytelling, using framing, lighting, and movement to reinforce narrative and thematic elements. In Themyscira, wide shots capture the majesty and tranquility of the island, often using natural light to evoke timeless beauty and serenity. The use of slow-motion sequences during combat, particularly in the no man's land scene, emphasizes Diana's superhuman abilities while also highlighting the human cost of conflict. In the European sequences, tighter framing, muted colors, and shadowed lighting convey the grim realities of war, creating a visual contrast with the vibrant and idealized world of Themyscira. Camera movement and perspective are carefully calibrated to maintain both the scale of epic battles and the intimacy of character interactions, ensuring that the audience is consistently engaged with both action and emotional depth. The film also excels in its depiction of themes such as the power of love, ethical heroism, and the transformative potential of courage. Diana's journey illustrates that true heroism is not defined solely by strength or combat skill but by the capacity to act with compassion, moral clarity, and resilience in the face of overwhelming adversity. Her ethical framework challenges traditional notions of revenge and violence, emphasizing that heroism is rooted in protecting others, fostering hope, and striving for justice even when the world seems morally compromised. These thematic elements are woven seamlessly into the narrative, providing not only narrative depth but also cultural and philosophical resonance that extends the film's impact beyond entertainment. The marketing campaign for Wonder Woman, 2017, was a meticulously orchestrated global effort that highlighted the film's narrative strengths, visual spectacle, and cultural significance. Warner Bros. Pictures leveraged multiple channels, including teaser trailers, full-length trailers, international press tours, comic conventions, and social media engagement, to generate anticipation for the film's release. Early marketing materials emphasized Diana's mythological origins, her emergence from Themyscira, and the ethical and emotional stakes of her journey, carefully balancing spectacle with character-driven storytelling. Trailers showcased pivotal sequences such as the first appearance of Diana in full Wonder Woman armor, the No Man's Land battlefield sequence, and the dynamic action scenes across Europe, giving audiences a sense of the film's visual grandeur and moral depth without revealing key plot resolutions. Social media campaigns amplified fan engagement, promoting interactive experiences, behind-the-scenes content, and character-focused narratives that encouraged global discourse about Wonder Woman's significance as both a superhero and a cultural icon. Comic-Con appearances and interviews with cast members further reinforced the film's positioning as a landmark female-led blockbuster, emphasizing empowerment, heroism, and the philosophical questions embedded within the narrative. The film's official release on June 2, 2017, in the United States marked a historic moment in cinematic history, coinciding with worldwide premieres in major cities including Shanghai, London, and Los Angeles. Its strategic release date allowed it to capitalize on the summer blockbuster window, drawing attention from audiences seeking both entertainment and inspirational storytelling. Box office performance exceeded expectations, with the film grossing over $820 million globally against a production budget estimated between $120 and $150 million. This commercial success was particularly notable given the historical context of female-led superhero films, demonstrating that audiences were eager for stories that combined emotional resonance, moral complexity, and spectacular action. Domestic box office numbers reflected strong audience reception, while international markets contributed significantly to the film's overall financial performance, indicating its universal appeal and the global resonance of Diana's journey as a hero and moral agent. Critically, Wonder Woman received widespread acclaim for its narrative depth, performances, direction, and thematic sophistication. Gal Gadot's portrayal of Diana was consistently praised for its combination of physicality, charisma, emotional nuance, and ethical clarity. Critics highlighted her ability to embody both strength and vulnerability, making Diana relatable while also awe-inspiring. Patty Jenkins' direction was lauded for its focus on character-driven storytelling, thoughtful pacing, and effective integration of visual spectacle with moral inquiry. Reviews often emphasized the film's success in balancing action, romance, humor, and philosophical reflection, noting that it elevated the superhero genre by demonstrating that blockbuster entertainment could be both thrilling and intellectually engaging. Supporting performances by Robin Wright, Connie Nielsen, Chris Pine, and David Thewlis were similarly recognized for adding depth and complexity to the narrative, ensuring that secondary characters were fully realized and thematically significant. The film's impact extended beyond financial and critical metrics, influencing broader conversations about gender representation, inclusivity, and the potential for female-led narratives in mainstream cinema. Wonder Woman became a symbol of empowerment, demonstrating that stories centered on women could achieve both critical acclaim and mass commercial appeal. It sparked discourse within the industry about the viability of female-driven action films, inspired aspiring filmmakers, and contributed to evolving perceptions of superhero storytelling. Cosplay, merchandise, and fan engagement reflected the global resonance of the character, as audiences celebrated both the mythological and ethical dimensions of Diana's heroism. The character's appeal transcended age, gender, and cultural boundaries, positioning Wonder Woman as both an aspirational figure and a culturally relevant symbol of courage, moral clarity, and hope. Comparatively, Wonder Woman distinguished itself within the superhero genre through its emphasis on ethical inquiry, narrative depth, and mythological grounding. While many contemporary superhero films focus primarily on spectacle, visual effects, or intertextual franchise connectivity, Wonder Woman balanced these elements with philosophical exploration, character evolution, and historical contextualization. Its World War I setting, in particular, provided a unique backdrop rarely explored in superhero cinema, enabling the narrative to grapple with themes of war, human nature, moral choice, and collective responsibility. The film's combination of grounded realism, mythological elements, and ethically driven narrative has been cited as a benchmark for subsequent superhero films, influencing both DC Extended Universe projects and competing narratives within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Its legacy lies not only in its financial and critical success but in its demonstration that blockbuster films can be multidimensional, socially meaningful, and emotionally resonant. In synthesis, Wonder Woman, 2017, represents a culmination of narrative ambition, technical expertise, and cultural significance. From its conception and development through production, performance, marketing, and reception, the film exemplifies the potential of superhero cinema to engage audiences on multiple levels, intellectually, emotionally, and visually. Its narrative combines mythological grandeur with historical realism, ethical reflection with thrilling action, and character-driven storytelling with spectacular cinematic techniques. Diana Prince's journey, from her sheltered upbringing on Themyscira to her emergence as a fully realized hero capable of influencing the fate of humanity, embodies the film's central themes of moral courage, altruism, hope, and the transformative power of ethical action. The integration of production design, cinematography, score, sound, and performance creates a cohesive cinematic experience that resonates deeply with audiences, inspiring admiration, reflection, and emotional investment. The broader implications of the film are manifold. Wonder Woman challenged entrenched industry assumptions about gender roles in blockbuster cinema, demonstrating that a female-led, female-directed superhero film could achieve extraordinary commercial and critical success. Its philosophical and ethical framing encourages viewers to reflect on the nature of heroism, the responsibilities of power, and the capacity for moral agency within complex social systems. By juxtaposing mythological ideals with historical and contemporary realities, the film fosters a nuanced understanding of human potential, emphasizing that heroism is as much about ethical choice and compassion as it is about physical strength or divine power. Moreover, the film's visual and narrative sophistication ensures its enduring relevance. The meticulous design of Themyscira, the historically informed reconstruction of wartime Europe, the choreography of action sequences, and the symbolic resonance of costumes and weapons all contribute to a rich, immersive world that supports both narrative engagement and thematic exploration. Audiences are not only entertained but invited to consider the ethical stakes of Diana's choices, the nature of human conflict, and the possibility of hope and redemption even in the darkest circumstances. In conclusion, Wonder Woman, 2017, is more than a superhero film. It is a cinematic milestone that blends myth, history, action, and philosophy into a compelling, emotionally resonant narrative. Its production, direction, performance, and technical achievements exemplify the highest standards of contemporary filmmaking, while its cultural impact underscores the transformative potential of stories that center female agency, ethical courage, and moral reflection. The film's legacy continues to influence both audiences and creators, setting a standard for narrative depth, visual artistry, and ethical engagement in blockbuster cinema. As Diana Prince, Wonder Woman embodies the ideal of heroism as an active, principled choice, demonstrating that true power is inseparable from compassion, moral clarity, and the courage to act for the greater good. Through its narrative, technical excellence, and cultural resonance, Wonder Woman secures its place not only as a defining film within the DC extended universe but as a landmark achievement in the history of modern cinema. The depiction of the film's major battle sequences is one of its most remarkable achievements, blending narrative, choreography, and visual spectacle to create scenes that are both thrilling and thematically significant. The initial combat on Themyscira, when German soldiers attack the island, serves as a narrative and emotional catalyst. The sequence is meticulously designed to establish the Amazons' combat prowess while emphasizing their vulnerability to loss and sacrifice. General Antiope's death during this battle is pivotal, not only motivating Diana's departure from the island but also reinforcing the stakes of heroism. Even extraordinary power cannot eliminate the costs of conflict. The choreography combines wide shots that display the scale of battle with tight, intimate frames that capture individual moments of skill, strategy, and emotion. Practical stunts are blended seamlessly with CGI, creating a sense of realism while maintaining the mythic grandeur of the characters' abilities. Every motion, from sword swings to leaps across battlefield trenches, is carefully framed to convey both the physical power and moral resolve of the Amazons. The subsequent no man's land sequence during World War I is often cited as the defining action moment of the film. This scene juxtaposes Diana's superhuman abilities against the entrenched lethality of human warfare, creating a visual and emotional tension that underscores the film's central themes. Diana's charge across the battlefield is carefully choreographed to highlight her courage, agility, and strategic thinking. The camera work employs tracking shots that follow her movement, slow motion to emphasize dramatic impact, and wide aerial perspectives to capture the scale of devastation. The surrounding soldiers, both allies and enemies, serve as narrative foils, reflecting human fear, hesitation, and determination. The scene is scored with music that simultaneously elevates the heroic action and underscores the emotional gravity of the moment. This sequence is not merely a spectacle, it symbolizes Diana's commitment to moral action in the face of overwhelming danger, demonstrating that true heroism requires both courage and compassion. Supporting characters receive detailed narrative arcs that complement Diana's development and enrich the story. Samir's arc illustrates the intersection of wit, charm, and bravery, showing that heroism can manifest in both action and ingenuity. His loyalty to the team and willingness to risk himself for others emphasizes that courage often involves moral choice rather than innate power. Charlie, the sharpshooter struggling with past trauma, embodies the lingering effects of war on human psychology. His eventual embrace of courage and decisive action demonstrates that heroism can emerge from vulnerability and past suffering. Chief, representing indigenous knowledge and practical wisdom, grounds the narrative, providing guidance, strategy, and cultural perspective. Together, these characters form a microcosm of humanity, showing how diverse strengths and perspectives coalesce to achieve shared goals. Their development parallels Diana's growth, reinforcing the narrative's assertion that heroism is collaborative and morally informed. Cinematography and visual effects work synergistically to create the film's immersive aesthetic. Matthew Jensen's cinematography emphasizes contrasts between the lush, utopian landscapes of Themyscira and the desaturated, chaotic environments of war-torn Europe. The use of color grading, lighting, and composition reinforces the thematic tension between innocence and experience, idealism and reality. Action sequences are enhanced with visual effects that amplify superhuman abilities while maintaining grounded physicality. Diana's movements, her leaps, spins, and combat maneuvers, are augmented subtly with CGI to convey power without sacrificing believability. Environmental effects, including explosions, smoke, and weather elements, are integrated seamlessly to heighten realism and narrative immersion. The visual language of the film consistently reinforces story, character, and theme, demonstrating a meticulous alignment of technical craft and narrative purpose. Music and sound design play crucial roles in shaping audience experience. Rupert Gregson-Williams' score weaves heroic motifs, emotional themes, and tension-building cues that guide viewer perception throughout the film. Action sequences are accompanied by dynamic orchestration that heightens excitement while emphasizing narrative stakes. Quieter scenes, particularly those depicting Diana's reflection, grief, or moral contemplation, are underscored with subtle musical themes that reinforce emotional resonance. Sound design complements music, from the clang of swords and footsteps in battle to environmental ambience, creating a multisensory experience that immerses audiences in both the mythic and human aspects of the story. The marketing campaign for Wonder Woman was strategic and impactful. Trailers highlighted Diana's origin, her training on Themyscira, the no man's land sequence, and hints of Ares as the underlying antagonist. These marketing materials balanced the promise of epic action with the film's emotional and ethical dimensions. Promotional interviews with Gal Gadot, Patty Jenkins, and key cast members emphasized empowerment, heroism, and moral integrity, reinforcing the film's thematic positioning. The campaign effectively generated anticipation among diverse audiences, appealing to fans of superhero cinema, action films, historical drama, and mythological narratives alike. Early screenings and fan reactions confirmed the positive reception, particularly highlighting Diana as a relatable yet aspirational hero. Awards and critical recognition further validated the film's cultural and cinematic impact. While not sweeping the major industry awards, Wonder Woman received accolades from various critics' associations and film festivals. Gal Gadot was widely praised for her portrayal, recognized for embodying both physical prowess and emotional authenticity. Patty Jenkins received acclaim for direction, noted for achieving a delicate balance between blockbuster spectacle and character-driven storytelling. The film's influence extended to discussions within the film industry regarding female-led superhero narratives, representation behind and in front of the camera, and the integration of mythological and historical storytelling into mainstream blockbuster cinema. Fan reception was particularly enthusiastic, with social media amplifying audience excitement and support. Wonder Woman quickly became a symbol of empowerment, inspiring discussions, fan art, cosplay, and online communities celebrating her character and values. The film's success challenged entrenched industry assumptions about female-led superhero films, demonstrating both commercial viability and cultural significance. The character of Diana Prince resonated widely due to her combination of courage, empathy, ethical clarity, and vulnerability, a blend that elevated her above traditional superhero archetypes and allowed audiences to connect with her on multiple levels. The legacy of Wonder Woman, 2017, extends beyond the immediate narrative or financial performance. The film reshaped expectations for superhero origin stories, emphasizing character depth, moral inquiry, and emotional authenticity alongside action and spectacle. Its impact is evident in the development of subsequent DC Extended Universe films, influencing narrative choices, thematic exploration, and character development. Wonder Woman became a benchmark for balancing mythic heroism with grounded human emotion, demonstrating the narrative potential of female-led blockbusters. The film also contributed to ongoing discussions about gender equity in the industry, illustrating the value and audience demand for diverse storytelling perspectives. Diana's portrayal as a morally grounded, compassionate, and physically formidable hero has had a lasting influence on popular culture, inspiring both audiences and creators to reimagine what superhero cinema can achieve. Wonder Woman, 2017, is not merely a superhero film, it is a cinematic milestone, a narrative crucible where mythology, human morality, historical drama, and contemporary culture intersect. From its inception, the film carried a weight of expectation unmatched by most comic book adaptations. The character of Diana Prince, created in 1941 by William Moulton Marston, had long symbolized not only female empowerment but a philosophical commitment to compassion, justice, and moral courage. To translate this legacy to a global blockbuster in the 21st century required careful balance, fidelity to the source material, emotional authenticity, cultural resonance, and commercial viability. Patty Jenkins, an accomplished filmmaker with a personal vision for the character, approached this challenge with both reverence and ambition, understanding that the film's success would rest as much on the moral and emotional coherence of Diana's journey as on the spectacle demanded by modern superhero cinema. The production of Wonder Woman was itself an exercise in meticulous orchestration. From the very beginning, casting was a critical concern. Gal Gadot, relatively unknown in Hollywood outside of the Fast and Furious franchise, was chosen not only for her physical suitability for the role but for her ability to embody Diana's moral clarity, intelligence, and warmth. Gadot's casting initially faced skepticism from fans accustomed to larger-than-life portrayals of superheroes by established actors. However, through careful coaching, rigorous physical training, and collaborative development with Jenkins, Gadot transformed into a figure whose combination of grace, strength, and empathy would define the film's identity. Chris Pine, cast as Steve Trevor, provided a complementary counterpoint. His charm, wit, and grounded moral compass allowed audiences to see humanity's complexity through the lens of someone both ordinary and heroic, bridging the mythological with the historical. Location scouting for the film became an extensive, global endeavor. The filmmakers sought landscapes that would simultaneously convey timeless myth and grounded wartime reality. The southern Italian coast, particularly the Salento region, was selected to represent Themyscira. Its combination of sun-drenched cliffs, clear blue waters, and Mediterranean flora evoked the paradisiacal isolation of the Amazonian homeland. Other locations, including London and northern France, were chosen for their historical resonance and their ability to embody the grim reality of World War I. Studio work at Warner Bros. Studios Leavesden allowed for precise control over complex action sequences, particularly trench warfare scenes and aerial stunts, blending authenticity with cinematic artistry. The logistics of coordinating hundreds of extras, elaborate set pieces, and extensive costume requirements demanded months of preparation and coordination across multiple countries, a testament to the ambition of the production team. Costume design, spearheaded by Lindy Hemming, became a critical narrative device. Wonder Woman's armor, inspired by classical Greek and Roman motifs, was designed not merely for aesthetic appeal but for storytelling clarity. Its metallic finishes, leather straps, and practical articulation allowed Gadot to move with both power and grace, emphasizing the combination of warrior capability and heroism rooted in morality rather than aggression. The Amazons' uniforms, each distinct yet cohesive, conveyed a society deeply invested in training, honor, and discipline, while simultaneously evoking a sense of mythic timelessness. Attention to historical detail extended to the World War I European costumes, where subtle cues, military insignia, fabric textures, and civilian attire, helped anchor the narrative in the human struggle of the period, contrasting starkly with the visual opulence of Themyscira. The film's cinematography, led by Matthew Jensen, reinforced its thematic duality. The luminous, golden palette of Themyscira symbolized purity, idealism, and moral clarity, while the muted, desaturated tones of European battlefields emphasized the suffering, chaos, and moral ambiguity inherent in human conflict. Through carefully constructed compositions, Jensen created visual storytelling that complemented the narrative arc. Wide, open shots in Themyscira conveyed freedom and possibility, whereas tight, smoke-laden trench sequences communicated constraint, danger, and moral tension. These contrasts were not merely aesthetic, they reinforced Diana's internal journey, her struggle to reconcile the ideals she was raised with and the often harsh realities of the human world. The narrative itself weaves together myth and history, creating a layered story that functions on multiple levels. The first act introduces Diana as an isolated yet intensely trained Amazon, her knowledge of the world limited, her understanding of morality theoretically perfect but untested. The arrival of Steve Trevor serves as both inciting incident and moral catalyst. Through Trevor, Diana is confronted with the brutality of World War I, which in the film functions as both literal and symbolic battlefield. Her initial perception, that the war is orchestrated by Ares, the god of war, establishes a mythological framework that allows the narrative to explore both external conflict and internal moral dilemmas. The film's genius lies in how it blends the mythic with the human. Diana's journey is epic and fantastical, yet emotionally resonant because it is rooted in human stakes, personal loss, and moral choice. One of the film's most celebrated sequences, Diana crossing no man's land, exemplifies this integration. Here, mythological capability intersects with human courage. Her act of walking unshielded across open terrain, deflecting bullets, and inspiring Allied soldiers becomes a symbolic moment of heroism. It is not merely the display of superhuman power that resonates, it is the moral courage implicit in the choice to act for others despite overwhelming danger. From a cinematic perspective, the sequence is meticulously choreographed. Camera angles, slow-motion effects, and musical score converge to amplify emotional impact, making the audience feel Diana's courage, fear, and determination simultaneously. This scene has since been studied in film programs as a model of combining action spectacle with narrative and emotional depth. Musical scoring by Rupert Gregson-Williams, who took inspiration from Hans Zimmer's previous compositions for DC properties, further enhanced the film's emotional resonance. The score emphasizes leitmotifs associated with Diana. Themes of hope, heroism, and compassion recur throughout the film, providing a musical anchor for her character's moral journey. In scenes of battle or personal struggle, the orchestration shifts to highlight tension, resilience, or tragedy, subtly guiding the audience's emotional response while maintaining the narrative flow. The music does not overpower the action. Instead, it complements the emotional and thematic beats, ensuring that the story's moral and mythic stakes are always foreground. Beyond technical achievements, the film's philosophical underpinnings are a critical element of its enduring relevance. Diana's arc embodies the tension between idealism and realism, myth and historical consequence. Initially, she believes that removing the source of evil, Ares, will end human conflict. Yet the narrative gradually reveals that human strife is multifaceted, arising from flawed decisions, fear, ambition, and systemic failures, rather than divine orchestration. The film thereby offers a meditation on ethics. Heroism is not about controlling outcomes, but about moral action despite uncertainty. Diana's choice to continue fighting for humanity, despite setbacks and tragedy, elevates her from warrior to true hero, one who embraces hope as a conscious act rather than naive optimism. Feminist critique has been central to the discourse surrounding Wonder Woman. The film foregrounded a female hero in a genre historically dominated by male protagonists, challenging assumptions about audience interest, narrative capability, and commercial viability. Jenkins' direction avoided sexualization common in earlier portrayals, focusing instead on physical empowerment, moral authority, and emotional depth. Academic commentary frequently highlights the Amazons as an example of positive representation, a society organized around competence, courage, and ethical responsibility, rather than male-defined hierarchies or stereotypical gender roles. Furthermore, Wonder Woman's empathy, her moral courage, and her ability to inspire others are depicted as inherently heroic, suggesting that femininity and strength are complementary rather than oppositional qualities. Global audience response amplified the film's significance. Box office success, exceeding $820 million worldwide, demonstrated that female-led superhero films could achieve both critical and commercial acclaim. In fan communities, Diana Prince became a symbol of empowerment, resilience, and ethical heroism. Online discourse, fan art, cosplay, and educational references frequently cite the No Man's Land sequence, her moral decisions, and her combination of strength and compassion as central points of inspiration. Surveys of audience perception indicate that viewers, across diverse demographics, responded positively not only to the spectacle but to the ethical clarity and emotional depth of the story. The marketing and promotional strategy for Wonder Woman was carefully designed to balance spectacle, character-driven storytelling, and cultural resonance. Warner Bros. And DC Films recognized the unique opportunity presented by the first major female-led superhero film in decades, and the campaign focused on positioning Diana Prince not only as a superhero but also as a symbol of empowerment and inspiration. Trailers highlighted the film's key sequences, including Diana's training on Themyscira, her arrival in London, the dramatic No Man's Land scene, and her confrontation with Ares, while maintaining an emphasis on character and moral themes. The promotional materials avoided over-reliance on spectacle alone, instead emphasizing narrative stakes, heroism, and Diana's ethical journey. Interviews with Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins, as well as featurettes showcasing the making of the film, reinforced this focus, highlighting both the human and mythological dimensions of Diana's story. Merchandising played a crucial role in extending the film's presence beyond the theater. Action figures, costumes, clothing, collectibles, and books featuring Wonder Woman were released in coordination with the film's debut, targeting both children and adult collectors. The merchandise emphasized Diana's iconic imagery, the tiara, shield, lasso of truth, and armor, ensuring visual continuity with the film and creating a recognizable brand identity. Beyond physical products, digital engagement through social media campaigns, interactive content, and behind-the-scenes videos allowed fans to connect directly with the story and its characters. These campaigns encouraged user-generated content, cosplay, and online discussions, fostering a sense of community and participation that amplified the cultural impact of the film. Fan engagement extended beyond promotional campaigns into broader conversations about representation and empowerment in media. The release of Wonder Woman coincided with heightened public discourse about gender equality, female leadership, and the visibility of women in action cinema. Fans celebrated the film's portrayal of a strong, morally grounded female hero, sparking discussions, online tributes, and analyses of Diana Prince as both a superhero and a cultural icon. Educational institutions, media outlets, and fan conventions frequently cited the film as a milestone in cinematic representation, examining how it challenged traditional norms and inspired audiences of all genders. The film's success demonstrated that narratives centered on female empowerment could achieve both commercial and critical acclaim, influencing future studio decisions and shaping the trajectory of superhero cinema. Behind-the-scenes anecdotes reveal the dedication and creativity of the cast and crew. Gal Gadot underwent intensive physical training for several months, developing her combat skills, agility, and stamina to perform many of her own stunts. She worked closely with stunt coordinators and choreographers to ensure that her movements were both authentic and visually compelling, blending athleticism with the elegance associated with Amazonian warriors. Patty Jenkins emphasized collaboration, fostering a production environment where actors, designers, and visual effects teams contributed ideas and were encouraged to maintain narrative consistency and thematic integrity. For example, scenes depicting Themyscira's natural beauty were carefully coordinated with set designers and cinematographers to ensure that the landscape reflected both mythological grandeur and lived-in realism. Crew members often recounted the energy on set, noting the blend of rigorous discipline and creative freedom that allowed the film to achieve its ambitious visual and narrative goals. The film's broader cultural impact is evident in its resonance with audiences and its influence on the superhero genre. Wonder Woman became a symbol of moral courage, ethical leadership, and empowerment, inspiring discussions about the importance of diverse representation in media. Cosplay, fan art, and online communities celebrated the character and the film's message, while journalists and academics analyzed its significance in the context of feminist media studies. The narrative's focus on ethical heroism, compassion, and love as guiding principles set it apart from typical action-driven superhero films, emphasizing that character and values are as important as spectacle. The film's depiction of systemic evil, as embodied by Ares and the human political structures he manipulates, encourages reflection on moral responsibility and the consequences of societal corruption, providing depth that resonates beyond the screen. Within the DC Extended Universe, Wonder Woman solidified Diana Prince as a central figure whose moral clarity and heroism serve as a touchstone for other characters and narratives. Her interactions with Batman, Superman, and other heroes in ensemble films are informed by her established ethical framework, making her both a mentor and a moral anchor within the larger universe. The film's success also influenced the development of other female-led or character-focused projects within DC, encouraging studios to invest in diverse stories that combine action, ethical inquiry, and mythological or historical grounding. By demonstrating the commercial and critical viability of a well-crafted, female-led superhero story, Wonder Woman reshaped expectations for what blockbuster cinema could achieve in terms of representation, narrative depth, and cultural resonance. The combination of marketing, merchandising, fan engagement, production dedication, and cultural impact demonstrates the multifaceted significance of Wonder Woman. It was not simply a box office success, it became a cultural phenomenon, influencing conversations about gender, heroism, and ethical storytelling. Its resonance continues to affect media, popular culture, and the DC Extended Universe, providing a model for how superhero narratives can blend visual spectacle with character-driven, morally rich storytelling. The film's influence extends to the creation of new content, the planning of sequels and crossovers, and the broader shaping of audience expectations for blockbuster cinema that aspires to both entertain and inspire. As the narrative progresses, each scene in Wonder Woman is meticulously designed to reinforce both character development and thematic depth. One early example is Diana's training sequences on Themyscira, which are not merely action demonstrations but integral to understanding her moral and psychological formation. These sequences depict her learning precision, strategy, and restraint, emphasizing that skill without ethical grounding is insufficient. The interactions with General Antiope during training carry profound lessons about leadership, responsibility, and the balance between strength and compassion. Antiope's instruction is both strict and nurturing, highlighting the dichotomy of preparation for war while instilling respect for life. The dialogue often contains subtle philosophical insights, as Antiope challenges Diana to question not only how to fight, but why to fight, embedding ethical considerations into every aspect of her martial education. These moments are foundational, establishing Diana's internal moral compass that guides her subsequent choices in the human world. The journey from Themyscira to London introduces a shift in tone and narrative complexity. The scenes aboard Steve Trevor's vessel, as he explains the intricacies of World War I, are dense with exposition yet carefully interwoven with character moments. Diana's questions and reactions allow the audience to absorb historical context without losing narrative momentum. Her curiosity, moral clarity, and ethical outrage serve as lenses for viewers to confront the horrors of war. Dialogues with Steve reveal both his admiration for Diana's idealism and his pragmatic awareness of human frailty. This dynamic not only strengthens their relationship but also illustrates the tension between idealism and pragmatism, a recurring motif throughout the film. Diana's moral deliberations during these sequences foreshadow the ethical challenges she will face on the battlefield and in her confrontation with Ares. The supporting characters' arcs are deeply integrated into the narrative structure, each reflecting a facet of human response to conflict. Samir's progression from comic relief to courageous operative underscores that heroism is not exclusively the domain of the superhuman. Intelligence, initiative, and moral choice are equally significant. Charlie's transformation is equally compelling. His initial hesitation, rooted in trauma, evolves into decisive action, illustrating personal growth through courage and ethical commitment. Chief's steady guidance and cultural knowledge provide practical solutions and moral grounding, emphasizing the value of experience, intuition, and collective wisdom in navigating complex challenges. The narrative ensures that each supporting character is not ancillary but contributes meaningfully to Diana's journey and the broader thematic fabric of the story. The film's action sequences, particularly the climactic confrontations, are designed with narrative intention beyond visual spectacle. The engagement with Dr. Poison and Ludendorff is framed not just as combat but as an ethical and strategic test for Diana and her allies. Each choice, maneuver, and tactical decision carries narrative weight, reflecting the film's consistent emphasis on morality intertwined with action. The choreography balances realism with mythic quality, ensuring that the audience perceives both human stakes and superhuman heroism. Visual effects are employed not merely for embellishment but to accentuate character abilities and thematic symbolism. Diana's use of the lasso of truth, for instance, is both a practical combat tool and a visual metaphor for justice, moral clarity, and ethical persuasion. Every swing, strike, and defensive maneuver is imbued with narrative significance, reinforcing character development and thematic intent. Dialogue throughout the film serves multiple narrative purposes. Conversations between Diana and Steve often juxtapose idealism and realism, exploring the philosophical underpinnings of heroism. Diana's exchanges with Ludendorff and Dr. Poison reveal her strategic thinking and moral fortitude, highlighting her ability to navigate ethical complexity even under extreme duress. The climactic confrontation with Ares intensifies this interplay, with dialogue functioning as both narrative exposition and ethical debate. Ares challenges Diana's understanding of humanity, morality, and love, prompting her to reconcile her idealism with the harsh realities of human behavior. This engagement transcends conventional superhero confrontations, transforming the climax into a multidimensional exploration of power, ethics, and responsibility. Ares' arguments and Diana's responses illuminate the film's central philosophical concerns: the capacity for love, the inevitability of conflict, and the choice to act morally despite uncertainty. The symbolic elements of Wonder Woman are woven consistently throughout the narrative. Themyscira itself represents a utopian ideal of justice, courage, and harmony, juxtaposed against the morally ambiguous and destructive world of human conflict. Weapons, attire, and artifacts carry layered meanings. The sword signifies strength and protection, the shield represents defense and resilience, and the lasso of truth embodies moral clarity and ethical influence. Costume evolution visually communicates narrative development. Diana's transition from Amazonian warrior garb to her iconic superhero outfit symbolizes her emergence as a global protector, a bridge between mythological ideals and human realities. Environmental design reinforces thematic concerns, with desaturated war zones contrasting against the vibrant, lush island, visually underscoring the tension between idealism and experience. Comparisons to the original DC Comics material reveal both fidelity and creative adaptation. Core elements of Diana's mythological heritage, divine parentage, and moral orientation are preserved, while the narrative situates her story within the historical and ethical context of World War I. This blending of myth, history, and cinematic storytelling allows the character to resonate with contemporary audiences, while remaining faithful to the spirit of the comics. Narrative decisions such as emphasizing ethical dilemmas, moral growth, and interpersonal dynamics expand upon the traditional comic framework, providing deeper emotional and philosophical engagement. The marketing and reception of the film illustrate its cultural and industry impact. Trailers highlighted both action and character development, emphasizing the balance of spectacle, heroism, and ethical inquiry. Gal Gadot's portrayal was central to promotional efforts, highlighting her combination of physical ability, emotional authenticity, and charisma. Audience reception was overwhelmingly positive, with particular attention to Diana as a role model and symbol of empowerment. Social media amplified fan enthusiasm, with widespread discussion, fan art, cosplay, and engagement reflecting the character's resonance. The film's success prompted industry-wide reflection on gender representation in blockbuster cinema, affirming the commercial viability and cultural importance of female-led superhero narratives. Awards and critical recognition further cemented the film's impact. While not a dominant presence at major award ceremonies, Wonder Woman received numerous accolades for direction, acting, and action sequences from critics' associations and film festivals. Gal Gadot's performance was consistently praised for combining strength, vulnerability, and moral clarity. Patty Jenkins' direction was lauded for its innovative approach to blockbuster filmmaking, demonstrating that character-driven, ethically engaged storytelling could coexist with large-scale visual spectacle. The recognition extended beyond accolades, influencing industry perspectives on representation, narrative complexity, and the integration of mythological and historical storytelling within mainstream cinema. The long-term legacy of Wonder Woman is reflected in its influence on both audiences and creators. The film reshaped expectations for superhero origin stories, establishing benchmarks for character depth, ethical exploration, and narrative sophistication. Diana Prince emerged as a symbol of courage, empathy, and ethical heroism, influencing subsequent cinematic portrayals of superheroes and inspiring a generation of audiences. The film's success reinforced the cultural and commercial potential of female-led blockbusters, contributing to ongoing discussions about representation, diversity, and ethical storytelling in film. Its impact persists in the continued popularity of the character, subsequent DCU entries, merchandise, cultural references, and discussions about the role of heroism and morality in contemporary storytelling. The film's key sequences and subplots are integral to understanding the depth of its storytelling. One notable sequence is Diana's training montage on Themyscira, which functions both as an origin explanation and as a character-building exercise. The montage combines physical training, combat drills, and Amazonian philosophy, emphasizing discipline, moral instruction, and a respect for life. Each stage of her training mirrors the challenges she will face in the human world, establishing narrative foreshadowing and reinforcing the theme that strength without ethical grounding is incomplete. The choreography and cinematography of these sequences, sweeping camera movements, slow-motion captures of precise sword strikes, and close-ups highlighting focus and determination, imbue the scenes with epic quality while maintaining intimate character insight. The training is not simply for spectacle, it is an ethical and emotional primer, showing that Diana's heroism is cultivated through both body and mind. A second pivotal sequence is Diana's first encounter with the chaos of World War I in the European villages. Here, the film juxtaposes her mythically idealized abilities against the stark brutality of human conflict. The scene where she witnesses civilians being attacked by German forces is crucial, as it catalyzes her decision to intervene, illustrating that heroism is reactive to suffering and injustice rather than self-serving. The cinematography emphasizes this contrast. Muted colors, smoke-filled skies, and narrow framing convey the danger and human fragility, while Diana's vivid armor and poised movements symbolize hope, courage, and moral clarity. The narrative subtly communicates that while humans are capable of cruelty and error, the intervention of ethically guided heroes can inspire courage, cooperation, and positive change. Minor characters, though not always central, contribute meaningfully to the film's thematic layers. Samir, a charming and loyal member of Steve's team, introduces humor and optimism, showing that heroism can be flexible, socially intelligent, and morally guided by love and loyalty rather than brute force. Charlie, a skilled marksman and spy, exemplifies courage tempered by pragmatism, while the chief represents wisdom, experience, and the importance of knowledge in confronting moral dilemmas. These supporting roles highlight different dimensions of human heroism, contrasting with Diana's divine strength and emphasizing that courage and ethical action can take many forms, both extraordinary and ordinary. The technical artistry of Wonder Woman deserves close attention. Costume design, led by Lindy Hemming, balances visual spectacle with functional realism. Diana's armor incorporates metallic textures, flexible leather elements, and symbolic designs inspired by Greek mythology. Every component, the tiara, bracers, boots, and chest plate, is designed to reflect both practical combat functionality and the narrative symbolism of Amazonian strength, honor, and justice. CGI and visual effects complement these physical elements, enhancing sequences like the Lasso of Truth, Ares' godlike powers, and large-scale battlefield scenes. Visual effects are meticulously integrated to maintain continuity with live-action performances, particularly Gal Gadot's stunts, ensuring that the film retains realism while embracing its mythological roots. Lighting and editing further shape the emotional and narrative impact. Warm, natural light on Themyscira emphasizes beauty and harmony, while cooler, desaturated tones in European battlefields convey danger and moral ambiguity. Rapid cuts and dynamic camera movements in combat sequences create tension and immersion, allowing audiences to experience the stakes and heroism firsthand. Comparative analysis with the comics and mythological sources highlights both fidelity and creative adaptation. Diana's origin story remains consistent with her comic book narrative, the daughter of Queen Hippolyta, trained by the Amazons, who leaves her homeland to protect humanity. However, the film adapts the timeline, historical setting, and specific plot elements to create a cohesive cinematic story. Mythological elements, particularly the involvement of Ares and the depiction of Themyscira, blend classical sources with creative invention, producing a visual and thematic style that honors the source material while achieving cinematic resonance. The film's adaptation choices, emphasizing ethical dilemmas, human tragedy, and emotional arcs, reflect a conscious effort to translate comic book mythology into a narrative suitable for modern audiences, balancing spectacle with character-driven storytelling. The legacy of Wonder Woman is multidimensional. It received numerous nominations and accolades, including recognition for visual effects, production design, and acting. More importantly, it established a new standard for female-led superhero films, proving that audiences respond enthusiastically to narratives that center on morally and emotionally compelling characters. The film's influence is visible in subsequent productions, encouraging studios to explore diverse perspectives, invest in strong female protagonists, and blend mythological or historical narratives with contemporary moral storytelling. Wonder Woman's impact extends beyond cinema, inspiring discussions about ethical leadership, female empowerment, and cultural representation, cementing its status as a landmark achievement in superhero storytelling. Finally, Wonder Woman demonstrates the power of storytelling that combines narrative depth, visual spectacle, ethical inquiry, and cultural resonance. From the lush vistas of Themyscira to the war-torn landscapes of Europe, from Diana's personal growth to the broader commentary on systemic evil and human potential, the film integrates multiple layers of meaning while remaining accessible and engaging to audiences worldwide. Its careful balance of action, character development, historical grounding, and mythological elements ensures a cinematic experience that entertains, inspires, and provokes reflection. The enduring popularity, critical acclaim, and cultural influence of Wonder Woman affirm its status as a seminal work in the superhero genre and a cultural milestone that will resonate for years to come. Supporting characters in Wonder Woman provide both narrative depth and thematic resonance, even if they are often secondary to Diana's central journey. Steve Trevor functions not merely as a love interest but as a moral and ethical lens, representing humanity's potential for courage, sacrifice, and self-reflection. His willingness to act despite personal risk mirrors Diana's choices, establishing a parallel between human heroism and mythological ideal. The inclusion of characters like Samir, Charlie, and Chief Napi adds texture to the World War I setting, representing a diverse coalition of people united by a common moral imperative. While these characters occasionally fall into archetypal roles, comic relief, tragic hero, or loyal comrade, they collectively serve to reinforce the film's central thesis: heroism is a communal as well as individual responsibility, and moral action inspires others to act similarly. Villains in the film, particularly Ludendorff and Ares, represent the thematic and moral challenges Diana must confront. General Ludendorff, initially portrayed as the personification of wartime cruelty, ultimately serves as a red herring. The revelation that Sir Patrick Morgan is Ares reframes the conflict as a confrontation with philosophical malevolence rather than mere human aggression. While some critics have noted that Ares' characterization is comparatively simplistic, it fulfills a narrative function. He embodies cynicism, despair, and the temptation to abandon moral ideals. Diana's refusal to succumb to hatred, even in the face of overwhelming power, underscores the film's central ethical argument: heroism is defined not by defeating enemies through violence alone, but by affirming hope, compassion, and moral choice in a flawed world. The interplay between historical context and mythological storytelling is particularly noteworthy. By situating a mythic character within World War I, the film creates an effective contrast between idealism and human fallibility. The depiction of warfare, from the chemical weapons attacks to trench assaults, is stylized yet emotionally convincing, emphasizing the consequences of human ambition and cruelty. Through this lens, the film explores timeless questions: can moral action persist in a world governed by greed, fear, and violence? Is hope naive, or is it a necessary counterbalance to despair? Diana's journey embodies the answer. Hope is neither naive nor passive, it is an active, courageous choice with transformative potential. The film's approach to feminist themes continues to be studied in academic circles. Beyond simply centering a female protagonist, Wonder Woman interrogates the relationship between power, ethics, and gender. The Amazons are not depicted as morally flawless, but they are shown as capable, disciplined, and self-aware, possessing authority without dependency on patriarchal validation. The film emphasizes that strength is ethical as well as physical, and that leadership involves responsibility, courage, and empathy. Diana's ethical framework, her insistence on protecting the innocent, acting against injustice, and refusing to compromise moral principles, serves as a model of both individual and societal empowerment. Merchandising and cultural imprint have been significant aspects of the film's influence. Action figures, clothing lines, comic tie-ins, and collectibles proliferated after the movie's release, reinforcing Diana Prince as a globally recognized symbol. The design of her armor, shield, and lasso of truth has become iconic in popular culture, frequently referenced and emulated in fan art, cosplay, and even fashion. These commercial elements, while often dismissed as secondary to narrative analysis, play an essential role in maintaining the film's cultural visibility and reinforcing its ethical and symbolic messages. By creating tangible symbols of heroism and moral courage, merchandise extends the impact of the film into everyday cultural experience, particularly for younger audiences. Comparisons to the original comic book material reveal a careful balance between adaptation and innovation. While the film retains essential elements, Diana's divine origin, her training on Themyscira, her compassionate ethos, it adapts these components to fit a historical and cinematic context. This includes integrating World War I as a moral crucible and narrative engine, a choice that deepens the ethical stakes of Diana's journey. Scholars note that this adaptation demonstrates the potential of superhero cinema to translate mythic and symbolic narratives into contemporary moral allegories, bridging the gap between fantasy and lived human experience. Critical reception, both at the time of release and in retrospective analysis, emphasizes the film's success in marrying spectacle with substance. Reviewers highlighted the emotional coherence of Diana's arc, Gadot's compelling performance, and Jenkins' thoughtful direction. While some critiques focus on the third act's reliance on CGI spectacle and the relative underdevelopment of secondary characters, most observers agree that the film's ethical and emotional clarity distinguishes it from other entries in the superhero genre. In the years since its release, it has become a reference point for both industry and academic discussions, frequently cited as a model for integrating character-driven storytelling with blockbuster entertainment. Global audience reception reveals that Wonder Woman resonated beyond English-speaking markets. Box office success in Europe, Asia, and Latin America underscores the universality of its themes: courage, moral responsibility, empathy, and hope. Audiences responded not only to the spectacle but to the ethical clarity of Diana's choices, reinforcing the notion that well-crafted character-driven narratives can transcend cultural and linguistic barriers. In online communities, debates about moral decisions, interpretations of scenes, and symbolic elements continue to thrive, demonstrating the film's lasting engagement with global viewers. The legacy of Wonder Woman is perhaps most evident in its influence on subsequent films and media. Female-led superhero films have since gained increased support, with studios recognizing the viability of narratives centered on morally complex, compassionate female protagonists. Within the DC Extended Universe, Diana's portrayal has influenced the depiction of other characters, emphasizing moral conviction and emotional intelligence alongside physical prowess. In broader pop culture, the film has inspired reinterpretations of classic narratives through a lens of ethical heroism and gender empowerment. Philosophically, the film invites reflection on the nature of heroism and morality. Diana Prince embodies a particular model: moral courage is inseparable from compassion, ethical action may require personal sacrifice, and hope is a deliberate choice rather than a passive stance. This approach contrasts with more cynical contemporary narratives, where moral ambiguity often dominates and ethical clarity is portrayed as naive. By presenting a hero whose choices are guided by compassion and integrity, the film offers a blueprint for ethical storytelling, emphasizing that narratives of power can coexist with narratives of moral responsibility. The soundtrack, visual motifs, and symbolic imagery all contribute to the film's enduring impact. Diana's lasso of truth, her bracelets, and her stance in pivotal sequences serve as visual shorthand for her ethical principles, combining mythic resonance with cinematic clarity. The score underscores emotional transitions, reinforcing the connection between narrative, character, and audience response. Together, these elements create a cohesive aesthetic and philosophical framework, ensuring that the film's themes are consistently communicated across action sequences, intimate character moments, and mythic confrontations. In the context of 2025, Wonder Woman remains a template for effective storytelling within blockbuster cinema. Its combination of character-driven narrative, historical resonance, mythological framework, ethical exploration, feminist representation, and global appeal demonstrates that superhero films can be both commercially successful and artistically meaningful. Its enduring cultural footprint is evident in continued merchandising, academic study, fan engagement, and references in broader media, reflecting a sustained impact that extends far beyond its original release. Wonder Woman, released in 2017, represents one of the most significant entries in the modern superhero genre, not only because it features one of the most iconic characters in comic book history but also because it breaks new ground as a major studio film directed by a woman, Patty Jenkins. The film is part of the DC Extended Universe, a cinematic universe that seeks to bring together some of the most well-known heroes from DC Comics, including Batman, Superman, and Aquaman, among others. Unlike many superhero films that emerged in the early 21st century, Wonder Woman was approached with a careful balance between mythological storytelling and a grounded, humanistic approach to its lead character. The origins of the film lie in the rich history of the Wonder Woman comics, created by William Moulton Marston in the 1940s. Marston's creation was inspired by feminist ideals, emphasizing a heroine who was compassionate, strong, and morally righteous. Translating this character to a modern cinematic audience required careful consideration, particularly given the cultural and historical context of the first Wonder Woman film adaptation. Warner Bros., recognizing the potential for both commercial success and cultural impact, collaborated with DC Entertainment and Atlas Entertainment to produce the film. They also enlisted Patty Jenkins as director, known for her work on character-driven narratives, which positioned the project to emphasize both thrilling action sequences and meaningful character development. The screenplay, written by Alan Heinberg, with story contributions from Zack Snyder and Jason Fuchs, ensured that the narrative would balance epic action with emotional depth, particularly exploring themes of heroism, love, war, and morality. The film opens on the hidden island of Themyscira, a secluded paradise inhabited solely by the Amazons, an immortal race of warrior women created by the Greek gods to protect humanity from the influence of war and violence. Diana, portrayed by Gal Gadot, is raised in this idyllic yet rigorous environment, trained from childhood by her aunt, General Antiope, to become a formidable warrior. From the beginning, the narrative emphasizes Diana's unique upbringing, which combines elements of mythology, philosophy, and physical training, providing her with an unparalleled skill set and moral compass. The island itself, with its lush landscapes, ancient architecture, and ethereal quality, serves as both a physical and symbolic representation of innocence, strength, and isolation. The audience is introduced to Diana as she explores the limits of her abilities, learning from the guidance of her mother, Queen Hippolyta, and her aunt, who instill in her the values of courage, justice, and responsibility. This early exposition establishes the core of Diana's character, a mixture of innocence, idealism, and unwavering commitment to fighting injustice. The narrative momentum shifts dramatically with the arrival of Steve Trevor, an American pilot and intelligence officer, whose plane crashes near Themyscira. This event serves as the inciting incident, pulling Diana out of her protected environment and exposing her to the larger, more complex world of human conflict. Steve's introduction allows the audience to transition from the mythical and fantastical elements of Themyscira to the grim realities of World War I. Through his perspective, the audience gains insight into the horrors of modern warfare, including chemical weapons, mass destruction, and political manipulation, which contrasts starkly with the utopian society of the Amazons. Diana, convinced that Ares, the god of war, is behind humanity's suffering, decides to intervene, believing that her skills and moral clarity can alter the course of history. This decision marks her first encounter with the external world, symbolizing the transition from innocence to experience and highlighting the central theme of the film, the intersection of human imperfection and divine responsibility. As Diana leaves Themyscira, she is equipped with iconic weapons, including her sword, shield, and the lasso of truth, each symbolizing different aspects of her identity and mission. The journey from Themyscira to Europe allows the film to explore not only historical settings but also cultural and ethical dilemmas inherent in warfare. The narrative carefully blends action sequences with character-driven moments, such as Diana's interactions with Steve Trevor and his allies, which include Samir, Charlie, and Chief, forming a team that complements Diana's abilities while also providing moments of levity and human connection. These relationships are crucial in humanizing Diana and providing a contrast between her godlike power and the vulnerabilities and moral ambiguities of human characters. The screenplay meticulously balances these elements, ensuring that the audience remains engaged with both the external conflicts of war and the internal evolution of Diana's character. The film's most iconic sequence, often referred to as No Man's Land, encapsulates both the visual spectacle and thematic depth of Wonder Woman. Diana crosses a heavily fortified battlefield, deflecting bullets and inspiring the soldiers around her, demonstrating her courage, leadership, and unwavering commitment to justice. This scene, choreographed with precision, not only showcases the physical prowess of the character but also reinforces the narrative's emphasis on hope and empowerment. It serves as a cinematic metaphor for breaking barriers, challenging impossible odds, and asserting moral clarity in the face of chaos. The visual and thematic impact of this scene became a defining moment for the character, cementing Wonder Woman as a symbol of empowerment for audiences worldwide. As the story progresses, Diana faces increasingly complex challenges that test her moral and physical limits. Believing that General Ludendorff is Ares, she confronts him in battle, only to discover that killing him does not end the war. This moment serves as a turning point, forcing Diana to question her understanding of human nature and the true source of conflict. It is here that the narrative deepens, exploring themes of disillusionment, responsibility, and the limits of power. Diana's crisis of faith underscores the film's broader philosophical questions: can one individual, no matter how powerful, truly change the course of humanity? The answer, as the narrative ultimately suggests, lies not in vengeance or domination but in compassion, courage, and the ability to inspire others. The revelation that the real Ares is Sir Patrick Morgan, a human disguised as a god, adds complexity to the story by blurring the lines between divine intervention and human culpability. Ares seeks to manipulate Diana, convincing her that humanity is inherently corrupt and unworthy of salvation. This confrontation serves as both a literal and symbolic battle, pitting Diana's ideals against a cynical worldview. The final battle sequences blend spectacular action choreography with emotional intensity, emphasizing that the stakes are not merely physical but also philosophical. Diana's ultimate realization that she herself is the god-killer, embodying the power and responsibility of the gods, marks her full transformation into Wonder Woman, a hero defined not just by her abilities but by her ethical and moral choices. Steve Trevor's sacrifice adds an emotional resonance to the story, highlighting themes of love, courage, and selflessness. His death is a pivotal moment that catalyzes Diana's awakening, demonstrating that heroism is as much about moral courage as it is about physical power. This interplay between human vulnerability and divine capability is a central motif of the film, reinforcing the idea that true heroism emerges from empathy, selflessness, and the courage to act in the face of overwhelming odds. The narrative concludes with Diana embracing her role as Wonder Woman, fully committed to protecting humanity while maintaining her ideals and moral clarity. The cast of Wonder Woman, 2017, contributes significantly to the film's success. Gal Gadot's portrayal of Diana Prince combines strength, grace, and empathy, creating a heroine who is both relatable and aspirational. Chris Pine's Steve Trevor provides a human anchor for Diana, blending humor, intelligence, and bravery, which allows the audience to connect with the story on a personal level. Robin Wright's General Antiope and Connie Nielsen's Queen Hippolyta add depth to the Amazonian society, portraying a culture of warrior women that is both powerful and nurturing. The villains, including Danny Huston's Ludendorff, David Thewlis's Ares, and Elena Anaya's Dr. Poison, provide varied antagonistic forces that challenge Diana physically, intellectually, and morally, ensuring that the narrative tension remains high throughout the film. The film's production design and cinematography play a crucial role in immersing the audience in both the mythical and historical worlds. Themyscira is depicted as a lush, vibrant world that contrasts starkly with the desolate, war-torn landscapes of Europe. The production design incorporates elements of classical architecture, natural beauty, and magical realism, creating a setting that is both believable and fantastical. Costume design, particularly Wonder Woman's iconic armor and lasso of truth, serves as both functional and symbolic elements, highlighting her warrior status while reinforcing her role as a symbol of justice and empowerment. The visual language of the film reinforces its themes, with light, color, and composition carefully employed to evoke emotion, highlight character arcs, and amplify the impact of action sequences.